39. When Ningning pushed the quilt aside to open the window, she felt a sudden draft of cold wind in her face. The sound of a singing grew louder. Even the rice paper bandage in the window burst. "What are you doing?" Grandpa half shouted from the bedroom. "Just want to see who's singing," she whispered back. "Who else could it be?" Grandpa sounded irritated. "Just a glance, Grandpa. I'll be careful." A man riding on a horse came into view in the distance. He didn't pass quickly by, but stopped, looking down the alley. The sound of singing was all around them now. She saw a few other people cluster around the man on the horse. They were wearing uniforms. They looked like Chinese, but just then she heard heavy footsteps and men's voices coming into the yard. Ningning leapt away from the window as if scared. Why hadn't she heard them coming? She crouched down by the floor as the cold wind blew the quilt about wildly. Her heart pounded. Not daring to breathe, she stumbled and crawled along the floor back to Grandpa's room as quickly as she could. She could hear boots shuffling downstairs and pounding up the squeaky staircase now. "Hurry," Grandpa whispered hoarsely. "What about you?" She climbed and fell flat into the coffin. "Don't move, no matter what." "Sorry, Gran." She shut the lid above her. "Shh." They were inside their home. The Japanese were already inside their home. They were inside Grandpa's room now. She could feel it, like she had felt it the last time they were in here. They stopped howling, but she could feel their ominous, frightening presence. The air inside the coffin quivered, but she didn't hear Grandpa reply. Is he playing sick or dead again? Then she heard things being kicked at, thrown, tossed around. Someone using something sharp, metallic, to knock around under Grandpa's bed. Someone coming closer to the coffin, so close that she could feel him right at her feet, so close that he could probably see through the lid and see her huddling inside the coffin. She stopped breathing altogether, but her heart thumped loudly. With a loud, animal-like scream, something sharp, metallic was thrust through the lid. Though it was dark inside and she couldn't see, she could feel its deadly presence. When it was pulled back, a faint light shone through the narrow, thumb-sized hole in the lid. It was right above the little space between her feet. What if she had been lying with her head at the other end? But there was no time for her to think now. The next instant, she heard a horrible, heart-piercing cry. "No!" She knew that voice. Something soft and heavy fell to the floor. "Grandpa!" she screamed as she pushed open the lid and boarded upright in the coffin. Ningning breathed hard. Her face was flushed. In the room surrounding the coffin stood 3 Japanese soldiers. They stared at her blackened face in astonishment. The upper half of Grandpa's body, facing down on the floor, was sprawled close to the edge of his bed. His right hand was stretched out as if reaching for the coffin. The beads lay loosely between his fingers. On his back was something dark and wet. A Japanese soldier stood over him, a bloody bayonet in hand. She screamed again, trying to step out of the coffin and run to Grandpa. "Huagunyang!" All the Japanese soldiers shouted at the same time. One of the soldiers, a sword in hand, grabbed her collar and dragged her out of the coffin. "Grandpa!" she wailed and collapsed at his side. "You have killed him! You have killed him!" she screamed. They looked like us, as Grandpa had told her, and she had been curious, but now all she had was burning hate. "They have killed Grandpa. They have killed Auntie Huang and Uncle Huang and Dame and Arme and so many others. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me too." A hand gripped her shoulder and pulled her on her feet. She jerked her body free, grabbed the soldier's hand with her own hands, small as they were, and bit into it as hard as she could. The Japanese soldier shrilled. He pulled back his hand and struck her across the face again and again. Ningning crumbled to the floor as her head exploded with pain. The soldier fell on top of her, pinning her arms behind her head with a bone-crushing grip. Her wrists went numb. She felt the full weight of the soldier on her tiny body. Rough, hideous fingers groped her, tearing at her clothes. "Jiu-Ming!" Ningning shrieked with every last breath as she kicked and thrashed her legs about. She was hit hard across the face again, and she tasted blood in her mouth. She went limp.